Welcome to WYCD Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do. It's your old pal Jake, and my mic is on. That's good. Good start. How y'all doing? It's a Friday. It is time to greet the weekend, and I think, folks, this time really revel in what a good week it has been. My word. Last couple of weeks have just been fantastic, especially if you want the world to survive. Really been good. We're going to go back to talking about some of the nitty and the gritty, which is generally what I prefer, but the situation has dictated otherwise for a while now. Sort of sporadic, but I'm going to give you the what you can do about everything right up front. And this is going to become a common refrain until the end of November. Volunteer. I'm assuming you already know you can toss $5, $10 here and there to various candidates. That's doable. Volunteering is where you're going to have probably the most effect. On what particular issue, you may wonder? On what issue is volunteering going to affect things? Everything. We're at a moment in history right here. This could be a moment where we bought ourselves another 4 years of just kind of surviving. You know, we could get Kamala Harris as president, and she might bravely deal with a Senate that is Republican, and a House this time which goes to the Democrats. So we see a lot of great bills go through one house and then not the Senate, or go through one chamber of Congress and then not the other, and never quite make it to her desk. 4 years of that nonsense. Or we could change everything. Gretchen Whitmer, when she came on to the statewide spotlight in Michigan, was something of a centrist. Necessity made her pass some progressive legislation, support some progressive legislation. Not her personal desire, but necessity. It's what it usually comes down to. We play these centrist and conservative games until it's time to actually do something about real problems, and then, tails between their legs, these people come to progressives for the answers that were there all along. That's that. Now, I don't want to be unfair to Whitmer. I can't see into her heart. I don't know what she really is deep down. I'm just saying she signed a lot of progressive legislation as governor. Tim Walz did the same. He had a lot of good legislation show up on his desk for his approval, and he chose not to deny it. Don't get me wrong as well. He also stood up for trans folks, stood up for women. Good guy. We could have that with Harris. I don't mean Walz as a VP pick. I hope that's what we get, but no. With Harris, we could get somebody who is not ideologically cemented yet. We could get somebody who gets a lot of helpful legislation put on her desk as president. She's the sort of person that would sign the thing. She's the sort of person who wants 8 years and understands that you don't get there by pissing off your party. We have an opportunity to actually make America a decent place for the first time. I won't say we're going to make it great, because it's unethical to put all the Republicans on boats and ship them off to Alaska. Wait, no, not Alaska. Space. Ship them off to space. It's just not ethical. But we can make it a decent place. And we haven't been that, ever. Pick a point in our history, and I will show you a time where either homosexuals were not allowed to get married, or black people were in chains, or women weren't allowed to vote, or Irish weren't welcome. Fill in the blanks. Or, hey, all of the above. We've yet to be a decent place. That could finally happen. Sorry, I've got an eyelash which is just killing me. Anyway, the point being, we need to make it happen. And everything you're going to see today, in some way, will be affected by if we can get a blue House, Senate, and White House. It has to go that way for most of these problems to get solved. Now, don't get disheartened if we don't get that. There are harder fights that can be fought and must be fought if we don't get that, because this stuff, whether it's an easy fight or not, this stuff must be dealt with. But the easiest way is the opportunity we have over the next 3 months. The easiest way to deal with most of our problems is to elect Kamala Harris and give her a blue House and Senate. None of this Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema bullshit. Give her a true blue House and Senate. Let's say hi to the Wicked community before we jump into these stories. Donald James, your eye is bloodshot. Hey, Rex. Yeah, I've been pawing at it. I got an eyelash in there, and then I was chasing the eyelash, and it went up under my eyelid. And it's not been fun all afternoon. I've been trying to get this big dumb finger to shush it out. And maybe I did a while back, and I just didn't realize it. But now I feel like it's lost in there forever. It's probably going to make its way to my brain and kill me. Anyway, good to see you, Donald James. The anti-corporatists, I mean, they're both retiring, yes, but we've had 1,000 mansions and cinemas. They go by many different names, but they are the people who want credit for being decent politicians who are, in fact, just plants. They're plants within the party of decency that take advantage of the name and do none of the things, that don't vote for decency, but instead vote to line their pockets. Always. We need to be able to recognize these people, and I think we're in an era, finally, where the average voter is getting savvy enough to know that your party affiliation is not truly as important as your policy set. And I think that will, if not save us from the future cinemas and mansions, give us some defense against it, you know? Yeah, Donald James X, are you still going to send me a video of you lip syncing Kool and the Gang? Yeah, I will. Do you want me to do it just like this? Yeah, you know what? I'll send you the video. Whatever. I will send you a clip. I'll figure out how to do that and send it over Discord. Mr. G. Jake, please bring the mustache back. Best mustache on the left. The mustache never left. It sometimes has company. I do sometimes get furious with grooming, and I get sick of it, and I just let the beard grow. But we're approaching the point where it interferes with my ravenous devouring of pizza pies. And then the beard goes away. So don't worry. We'll get there soon. It's entirely gorging dependent. Donald James X, that goes for anybody who wants to, and I'll clip it into my video. Hell yeah. That sounds like so much fun, man. Rex Track, okay with me, Jake. Woof. Yeah. Look, I'm a gentleman who enjoys the occasional pizza pie. All right, let's record something. I want to talk about how weak the Republican playbook is. When they don't like something, they got nothing except for bigotry and its associated hate to sell the idea. When they're trying to go up against, say, Kamala Harris, they get befuddled, bewildered, bewitched. They can't wrap their minds around an attack that isn't related to her skin color or the state of her genitals. Similarly, when they try to talk culture, what you wind up with is nonsense like this. Over in the Olympics, an Italian boxer got her ass whipped quick. An Italian boxer who has lost multiple matches, lost in 46 seconds. Then Yahoo Sports, jackasses that they are, apparently, writes this headline: Paris Olympics, Italy's Angela Carini abandons fight with Algeria's Imani Khalif, who failed unspecified gender test after 46 seconds. Yeah. So what happened is a Russian boxer lost to Khalif, who is a skilled boxer. She's from Algeria. And so the Russians, being the cheating right-wing scum that they are, made her take some kind of a gender test, and they said, "Oh, she's got an XY chromosome." Here's the deal: she's a lady. Imane, I don't even know how to say her first name. Khalif, the boxer. She's a lady. Always has been, as far as I know. She's got the hoo-ha and everything. What happened is that apparently slightly out of shape boxer down there got punched in the face in a boxing match and went down. She lost the boxing match, in other words. I.e., what happens when you box? Somebody loses. She just lost very quickly. Less than a minute into her bout against an Algerian boxer barred from the 2023 World Championships after failing a gender eligibility test, Italy's Angela Carini decided that she was done. She raised her hand to stop the fight after absorbing a flurry of powerful jabs from Algeria's Imani Khalif in the opening seconds of the first round. Carini told her coach, Emmanuel Rezzini, that her nose hurt too much for her to continue. Rezzini urged her to try to make it to the end of the first round for pride's sake, so that they could talk further. But Carini raised her hand again after taking just one more punch from Khalif and asked once more to abandon the fight. "She's too strong," Rezzini recalled Carini telling him. A tearful Carini addressed reporters for 20 minutes after the fight, apologizing to her country for lasting only 46 seconds and lamenting that she had worked so hard for this moment, only to have it end so quickly. "I had entered the ring to fight," Carini said in Italian after. "I didn't give up." She did give up. "But a punch hurt too much, so I said, enough. I will go out with my head held high." Yeah, you shouldn't, though. Let's see if Twitter's capable of playing this video. Boom.
Riceve il diretto destro. E ancora il caschetto. Cosa succede?
Questo è molto...
Hell yeah, Algeria.
Molto probabilmente, non so, adesso penso la soluzione migliore sia andarglielo a chiedere.
Certamente avremo modo poi di chiederglielo.
Sembra più una banda di contestazione, secondo me.
Che non comprendo.
Che non comprendo.
No comprendo either, Italians. Here's what happened. You put a bad fighter in. I'm sorry that it was embarrassing for you. I'm talking to all Italians here. I'm sorry that it was embarrassing that your fighter got her ass whipped. But she did. I'm sorry, our right-wingers here in America and right-wingers around the world are making it more embarrassing by trying to make it into a bigoted attack. But the fact is, it's a lady. So it's a woman that was participating in the fight. If you had any objections to that woman's participation, the time to do it is before the fight. The reason why you do it before the fight and not after is because you're a big baby if you do it after. You're just a sore loser if you do it after. If you would have taken the win, if you were able to take the win, it takes away all the teeth from any argument you were going to make. You were apparently willing to treat it like a fair fight on your way in. And then after you lost badly, and frankly, without any heart, 46 seconds? What was it, a jab or a cross that caught her? Whatever. A punch to the face. Too much for the boxer. You're a sore loser, Carini. She's since come out and apologized for some of the comments she made about the person who whipped her butt. But you know, this is the sort of thing that is going to bury the modern conservative movement. Regular folks are able to comprehend things like you get punched in a boxing match. They're able to understand things like if you got a problem with a boxer, you say so before the boxing match you participate in, not after. Because otherwise, it's a sore loser that you are, or you're just being a sore loser, I suppose. Regular folks are able to understand that. And I bring up this story because this is now bleeding into the realm of regular folks. Regular folks watch the Olympics. Regular folks enjoy boxing. Layla Ali had a career. Ronda Rousey, not a boxer, I think she was MMA, but still had a career in fighting sports. Regular folks pay attention to that stuff. And seeing these hateful, sad little Republican tirades, little conservative tirades, and yes, Republicans specifically because it's bled over into America. Jesse Waters demanded to know why U.S. presidential candidate Kamala Harris hadn't weighed in on this fight between an Algerian and an Italian while they were in Paris. Nothing to do with America, except that Jesse Waters, an American bigot, was interested in it. We got to bury this movement socially, politically, on just about every level it can be buried. This is the embarrassment of our generation, the existence of folks like Jesse Waters, and the fact that he's able to pay his mortgage and fuel his car based on views from idiots near us. Bigots near us, if I'm being quite frank. The people that like what he has to say like hearing bigoted stuff. The embarrassment of our generation. And the great news is everybody who's not those people, for the most part, they're tougher than those people. They tend not to flop over in 46 seconds. Go Algeria. That one really, really wasn't a what you can do, if I'm being honest. I think it's telling for where we are right now as a society. And I'm delighted to see that it's bleeding into regular folks' territory. The anti-corporatists, they've always existed. Just now, the rest of us have evolved. They stick out like sore thumbs. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Rex Trek. Heck, I'm embarrassed for my generation. Class of 79. I'm embarrassed for mine. The push we're hoping for with Gen Z, the big change in politics that we're hoping for with Gen Z, should have happened with my generation, the millennials. I'm deeply ashamed that we didn't fix this. There should be 0 millennials voting for Republicans because my generation was arguably the first of the regular school shootings generation. We should have learned our lessons. Selena Mary. The right needs therapy. They aren't willing to interrogate their own phobias and prejudice. They run towards any confirmation bias without even simply Googling. Yeah. They really do need therapy. They really do. Hell yeah, the anti-corporatist, the government of Algeria has already released a statement having her back. Good. As well they should. And by the way, she's done them a great honor. She's the one that won the fight for her country. Good honor. They should be proud, and I'm glad they're standing by her. By the way, why do we allow Russia to be involved with the Olympics at all? They cannot be trusted. Look at the history of Russia with the Olympics, and it's as bad as Republicans with democracy. They look for every opportunity to cheat that they can possibly take. There was a Russian fencer who had a remote control installed in his sword so that when he thrust, he could click a button and set off the sensor counter that the judges were using to see if a hit was landed or not. He was winning even without that. He was genuinely out-fencing the competition, but he got booted out of the match because the judges, a couple of times when he thrust and missed by a mile, he pressed the button. And the judges saw that, asked to inspect his equipment, saw that he had a device there, then they had to act. In this Olympics, what are the Russians doing? Well, this woman, this boxer, is from a place where being trans literally is a punishable offense. Their testing that they insisted upon could get her killed. The fake rumors that they're spreading about her, as in the lies they are telling about her, could get her killed. Over what? Over a game, man. Pathetic. But to some degree, we who don't insist that Russia simply not be allowed to participate in these things, or simply have no controlling over the organization of it, no control ever over the organization of it. Maybe they can be allowed to submit teams, but those teams must, for the next century, let's say, be monitored or controlled or hosted by another country which can be trusted. That's a problem. That's our problem, I guess I should say. That's on us. The fact that we keep pretending like, oh, Russia's normal. We don't want to insult Russia. Well, Russia. I do want to insult Russia, but it shouldn't be an insult to treat them realistically based on how they behave. It's a country with no interest in fair play. So why would we pretend as though they can be trusted to monitor the fair play of this competition? They're an amoral group of barbarians, in my opinion. But again, I truly do hate Russia, and you should know that, and you shouldn't be like me in that regard. But I do recommend we treat Russia in the Olympics with skepticism that they have earned, frankly, over the last 50 years. Truly, look up the history of Russian cheating in the Olympics, and it's staggering. Public utility, hello. Good to see you. Anti-corporatist, who was saying that the original testing was particularly barbaric? That Ray on the Power Report last night? Yeah. The frickin' baton. It's just gross, dude. I'll go one step further. I would like to see 3 types of every sport. Yeah, you can have it for the men's, the women's, and then just, I guess, what do you call it? Intramural? Just like no restrictions. Anybody's welcome. No seat at the 0.1% table, says Public Utility, for anyone new. I guess, maybe. Selena Mary correctly laughing at my wild hatred of Russia. That's the most old school, genuinely right-wing psycho thing about me, is probably my paranoid ranting against Russia specifically. I don't know. Maybe it's just something about being American, but they are the snake to my mongoose. All right, let's have some fun. Actually, no, I need to explain this. I need to explain the title of the stream. I hope you guys enjoy the opening frames of this as much as I did. Oh, it'll make sense in a moment. There's a man on the internet by the name of Brian Tyler Cohen, and he's got a friend on the internet by the name of Glenn Kirshner, and occasionally they do a show together called The Legal Breakdown. I love hearing from this crew because they do a fantastic job of explaining what is going on with that. You know that guy that tried a coup? What's his name? He tried to overthrow democracy in America. He's got a really memorable name because he made it up. It used to be Drumpf, and then he changed it. Anyway, that traitor to the country, his legal proceedings. There's so many of them. It's hard to keep track, and he's got so many corrupt judges helping him out that you just need somebody like Glenn Kirshner. Hopefully that guy who was recently on vacation is totally back and in work mode and is ready to tell us what's going on, because there's been some developments.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown. So, Glenn, we've got some breaking news here.
Glenn. Buddy. I was recently sunburned myself. I cannot. Who am I to heckle? And yet, good Lord, Brian Tyler Cohen joined by a cherry tomato for The Legal Breakdown. Fortunately, this particular tomato still has a impressive career as a lawyer and will give great analysis. Here's the deal. Trump might have some legal issues regarding his case that's in front of Judge Tanya Chutkan.
As Donald Trump's legal issues surge back into the spotlight in the most consequential case that he faces, that's the one in D.C. Talk about what just happened there.
You know, Brian, at long last, we're going to see some movement in Donald Trump's criminal prosecution in Washington, D.C., for trying to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. After a long 30-day waiting period, which is just part of the appellate process after an appeals court makes a decision, and the Supreme Court did, setting out its presidential immunity ruling. After 30 days, what's called the mandate issues. The case is returned to the trial court for further proceedings consistent with the appellate court, in this case, the Supreme Court's ruling. What does all that mean? Well, I have to tell you, my favorite headline that I read, and I've been trying to read furiously everything that's being reported about this, comes from CBS News, and the headline simply states, Chutkan takes the reins.
I'm glad he's about to explain it, because right now, if you're sitting there like, okay, I don't get the basic thing that they're talking about yet. I also, like Glenn Kirshner, tried to read everything I could about it. I didn't understand it. Don't feel bad. Kirshner's going to break it down. Sunburned though he may be. Here's my basic understanding. Trump got delays yet again by trying to appeal up to the Supreme Court, and now Tanya Chutkan is saying this is back, or does have it back under her control, and the fact that she tends to work quickly means we're likely to get some actual dates set for this thing. I still doubt very much that means we're going to see any resolution whatsoever before the election, but still interesting.
Chutkan
Let's see if
now
I'm right.
has this case back in D.C. federal court, and I have a feeling as early as perhaps tomorrow, because she is known to work on the weekends, or maybe Monday, she will set a schedule for hearings to be held consistent with the Supreme Court's ruling. And what that boils down to is the Supreme Court basically tried to give Donald Trump a whole bunch of immunity for a whole bunch of the crimes he committed. However, they said he may enjoy presidential immunity for official presidential acts, but if what he did on and around January 6th constituted unofficial acts, private conduct, for example, a candidate trying to retain the power of the presidency after losing an election, he can be prosecuted for unofficial acts, for private conduct, and they are now putting the ball literally back in Judge Chutkan's court to sort all this out in evidentiary hearings. So she's going to have to hold, I think, what will be pretty wide-ranging hearings on the evidence that Jack Smith collected up during the course of his investigation of Donald Trump to try to determine, consistent with the Supreme Court's ruling, what's an official act, what's an unofficial act. But here is what I'm really looking forward to. When you're litigating these issues, there will be lots of contested areas where Jack Smith will say, wait, these are not official presidential acts. In fact, I think he will take that position with respect to the lion's share of what Donald Trump did to try to retain the presidency. And even if at the end of the day, there's a ruling that, well, you know what? I think some of these may be presidential acts. The good news is we're going to see the dang evidence. They're going to have to litigate the question of whether all this stuff Donald Trump did was official or unofficial. And, you know, the benefit of that is the American people are going to see. And
yeah, really want to stress. Oh, let's just let him close his mouth.
Reported out, you know, of the trial proceedings, exactly what Donald Trump did. And I have
Okay, so even if there was a guilty verdict found tomorrow in this very case, sentencing would not happen before he was president if Trump got reelected. And that would make the sentencing irrelevant. They'd say, well, we're going to delay that and until he's not president, because obviously blah, blah, blah. And oh, look, he's pardoned himself. The thing that is important here is that Trump, in a court of law, has to explain himself. Why did you behave the way you behaved surrounding this coup? Let's just be real for a second. You and I saw this. You and I were watching. I am of the belief that what we saw was a coup planned by Trump, orchestrated by Trump, directed by Trump. Whether or not somebody in a courtroom declares that is less important than the American people seeing the meat and potatoes of what he did. That is very important. We have to assume that everybody that voted for Trump will vote for him again as just a matter of practicality. However, we need the people who didn't vote for Trump to be inspired to come out and vote against Trump. And we need the people who, for some reason, chose not to follow any of this because they were comfortable enough in their lives to think this would not affect them. We need them to be motivated, to see this person is a threat to democracy. That's not an exaggeration. This is likely, gang, it is likely the end of democracy if Trump gets reelected. I've even heard Feldman saying, well, it wouldn't be that. Yes, it would. I'm sorry. I love Feldo. I love him dearly. That's exactly what it would be. This guy has said he'll be a dictator on day one. Okay. I'm pretty sure he'll be a dictator on day -1 as well, when he was supposed to have left and says, nah, nope, I think I'm going to stay. I think I'm going to order these loyalist generals that I put in charge of the military to shoot anybody that tries to take me out of office. That's what we're talking about here, gang. It needs to be taken that seriously. And they need to see this. They need to see the content of his character in a courtroom.
Feeling we're going to be learning some things based on the evidence Jack Smith presents that we probably didn't know before, because this evidence was developed as part of a secret grand jury proceeding. All grand jury proceedings are secret by law, and the public doesn't get to know about it until the prosecutor begins presenting evidence of it in court. So, you know, buckle up, because in the coming weeks and probably the next couple of months, we're going to be learning a whole lot more about the crimes of Donald Trump and the many Republican witnesses who provided the incriminating evidence against Donald Trump.
Right, we're basically going to get a mini trial, so to speak, here. Glenn, who is the final arbiter of whether the immunity ruling actually applies to different aspects of this case? Is that going to be Judge Chutkan?
Well, not the final arbiter. She will make the ruling.
Right, and then inevitably, if Trump's team, for example, doesn't agree, then we'll see the appeals process play out.
And inevitably, Trump's team will not agree. Just for the record, anything that goes against Trump in any way will get appealed as much as possible. The point being to draw this thing out as long as possible. They have no interest in what is true or not. They have only interest in dragging this thing out.
So with that process, how does that work? While they're appealing something, does everything get put back on hold?
Chances are yes. Anytime a case goes from a trial court judge and an issue is appealed and the appeals court accepts the issue for review, that deprives the trial court judge of jurisdiction. The trial court judge can do nothing more in the case until the appeals court resolves it. So yes, Brian, as sort of disheartening as this is, this is just another step on the road of accountability for Donald Trump's crimes. It will probably go back up to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals once Judge Chutkan makes her rulings, and then inevitably it will be appealed up to the Supreme Court.
Ba-da-ba-ba. So yeah, once again, what you can do, volunteer for the DSA. Specifically the DSA, not even the regular Democrats. I mean, if you want, it's not going to hurt to volunteer for just a standard Democrat. It'll really be helpful if you're putting work into getting those progressive candidates in place. Because here's the deal. We've seen the Supreme Court has no principles. They have no ethics. They're just a bunch of people that want to cling on to power. They're going to be eager to stop embarrassing themselves by helping Trump once Trump is a lost cause. They do understand, if nothing else, they do understand the culture of the world of lawyers, let's say, the legal world. And there's a phrase amongst lawyers which is commonly said, which is, do not try to defend an untenable case. Another way to put it would be, don't die on that hill. If you cannot win the case, if ultimately you're going to lose, don't try to defend it. Instead, negotiate for a better version of the inevitable outcome. That, I think, is going to kick in if they look at the political landscape and say, my God, this person that we've been sacrificing our reputation for is still not going to be the president. He's still inevitably going to be found guilty. If we don't bounce back this particular issue, they're going to get him on another one, and so on and so forth. We're about to have a bunch of coworkers because now, because of what we've done, the court's going to get packed. That will affect the end result. But the important thing is what Glenn Kirshner, playing through the sunburn, said earlier in the video, which is, this will now be discussed in front of the American people. That is what is important, and that is great news. Good. I'm glad this case is back. I'm glad Donald Trump is unhappy. I'm glad he gets more negative headlines, and I cannot wait for former prosecutor Kamala Harris to rake him over the coals for whatever update happens to be in the headlines whenever they finally debate. Public utility. Capitalism is a cheat regardless of the nation. I agree. an actual cloud. Kirshner definitely knows the law and prosecution processes, in my opinion, but he's not an expert regarding the details of any of these cases. He's not bad, though. Yeah, that's fair. I'll say this. He knows a courtroom much better than I. He's got a pretty good sense of how people in the class that are going to be deciding these matters think. And he tends to be a bit more of an optimist, I think, than the average bear. But still, good read, generally, of these situations. Mars Falcon. Good to see you, my friend. Thank God for modern technology. Else nobody could find any character particles in Donald's display case. Gotta use those super collider spectrometers and microscopes. Let me read that a little bit better. Thank God for modern technology, else nobody could find any character particles in Donald's display case. Gotta use those super collider spectrometers and microscopes. Yes. Fun P, what's up, brother? Good to see you. Han Solo, good to see you as well. Oh boy. This is interesting. Han Solo says, howdy, my brother wanted to vote for Trump over Biden. He is 100% supporting Kamala. I can't understand the reasoning. But hey, she did something that motivated at least one. Yeah, I don't follow that reasoning at all either. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. But you know what? Good. I guess I'll say this. It tells me that the right wing was making inroads with low information voters in terms of sullying Biden's reputation, probably through all that work they did with dragging his son over the coals. And they haven't done that work with Kamala. Kamala was in stealth mode. And now they have 3 months to try to find something evil about her, but they can't. And remember, Trump's whole argument was, they're just as bad as I am. Look, Biden's as bad as me. Which is a tentative way of acknowledging that you yourself are bad. Well, now Biden's not running. So he's just left with the negative end of that assessment. Well, Biden was as bad as me. I've now acknowledged that I'm bad. Now there's somebody else running against me, so it's blank versus bad. Selena Mary. People were sick of old white men. Imagine that. Yeah. Metal 1. As long as Donald Trump keeps getting sued, lawyers will never run out of content to react to and talk about. This is true. For fuck's sake. Donald Trump is his own industry. I swear. What a maroon. What else did I want to talk about? Oh! Well, speaking of Kamala, let's just talk about this. We don't even have to do a segment. Oh, but I guess I should. On account of history. Do-do-do. Diddly-do. Diddly-diddly-do. Here we go. Well, believe it or not, it wasn't official before today. But now it is. What am I talking about? This right, chow.
Kamala Harris really locked up this nomination at lightning speed, making history along the way.
And the history, Whit, is worth noting. This is now the first time that a black woman, a person of South Asian descent, will be at the top of the ticket. Only the second woman to ever achieve that. And as you said, this has happened at absolute lightning speed. It was just 12 days ago, 12 days, Whit, that she first became a candidate. Now, less than 2 weeks later, she has now crossed that threshold, earning enough delegates to become the Democratic Party's nominee. We have never in our nation's history seen something like this. And now we are going to be on this remarkable 95-day sprint to the finish. It is going to be a well-funded sprint. Her campaign this morning announcing just in the last 2 weeks they have raised $310 million, a record haul. You heard Kamala Harris there. She says she is ready to fight. She is ready to win. And the next big thing, Whit, of course, is that she now is making that most consequential decision of who will be joining her on this ticket.
And Mary, let's talk about that. It's really crunch time in this so-called Veep stakes. What is the latest in her efforts to select a potential running mate?
Well, we've learned that this process, the Veep stakes, has now entered the final stages. What comes next is now in Kamala Harris's hands. We have learned that the vetting process that was being done by a law firm led by the former Attorney General Eric Holder, that they have wrapped up their work and essentially passed the process over to Kamala Harris herself. We do know that that team vetted at least 3 leading contenders, Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, Governors Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. And it is also notable that Kamala Harris doesn't have a lot on her schedule in the next coming days. It is likely that she will be having some in-person or direct person-to-person conversations. We do know that some of the contenders have also cleared their schedules as well, possibly to make time for some of those conversations. What we do know is that we are going to have an answer to this question by Tuesday evening. That is when Kamala Harris will be hitting the road, her first big rally, the ticket together in Pennsylvania, Whit.
Yeah, Kamala Harris is officially the nominee. Good. Good. Painless. Lovely. Pretty much drama-free. Just some thoughts on the historicity of her nomination. This is a small thing. I'm not sure how much it matters. I guess it's just a personal thing. I'm glad that the first potentially black woman president would also be the first woman president and would also be, I think it's fair to say, the first Asian president. And it's a whole bunch of boxes checked. Possibly the first step-parent president. Maybe not. I'd have to check on that. But I think that's good. Barack Obama, I think it might be fair to say, pulled a lot of punches because he was, unfortunately, having to represent an entire race of people. You couldn't have, in his mind, you couldn't have a guy be the first black president and also be a radical leftist. I just think it's nice that we get to fill up a bunch of those categories all at once. Because it's going to confuse the bigots. Will they blame it on her womanness or her blackness or her... Wait, did I say Kamala Harris would be the first black president? Obviously, that was wrong. But first black woman president and first Asian president. But that's the point, is that it does get confusing. And it does get harder to focus on the irrelevant things. I'm interested in her policy set. I'm interested in, to a degree, who she picks as her VP. I'm interested in the things she can get done. And it's going to be harder for folks to write her off as a this or a that if she is a many things. Also, for the next person, 20 years from now, who knows when the next whatever that matches one of her categories is. For the next person, it takes a lot of the pressure off and allows us to focus on what we should have been focusing on the whole time, which is what kind of a human being are they? But it is official now. Kamala Harris is the candidate for the Democrats. Neat. Selena Mary. I'm hoping. Oh boy. I'm hoping. Can't be confident and on the left. Yeah, that's sad as can be. Is an actual cloud here? Yes. Kamala can't be prepared to deal with all of Trump's lies. That's fair. Nina Canadian, good to see you. Fun P, I love women. Yeah, me too. A lot of them. Metal One, well, duh. Of course it hasn't happened before. Kamala is the first woman of color to achieve that. Yeah. Bad Lefty. I hope that his ego won't let him duck the debate, but who knows? Yeah. It's a good... Ego in Trump is an interesting thing. Will it prevent him from ducking the debate, or will it ensure that he ducks the debate? Because don't forget, he's also a coward, and the idea of losing to a woman is too much for him to handle. The anti-corporatist, yeah, as long as the moderators don't hold his feet to the fire, he's a junkyard dog in a debate. So I doubt he won't do it, unless it accrues to his benefit to do so, the usual caveat, yeah. An actual cloud. MAGA won't hear discussions about facts. Maybe the worst thing Trump has done is make 50% completely immune to facts. Any fact that you might present them, they'll just say you can't trust the mainstream media. Yeah, I don't know if Trump did that or if he just took advantage of that. Because Fox and Rupert Murdoch's whole family, frankly, were already doing that. That's their whole jam, baby. They are the anti-fact family of Fox, and I don't know. We should, at the very least. I've been mulling over how to deal with that, because it does need. We, as a group of human beings alive on planet Earth in 2024, need to address this situation. Now, if it's a government response to Fox, that is the way we decide to deal with it, okay. I have some concerns about the government messing with a media organization. Just generally, that's a problem for me. But not as much of a problem as us collectively doing nothing and allowing Fox to go on existing at all. We can't. They participated in the coup. They told lies that they knew were lies when they told them. They got Americans killed. They are a villainous organization. At a minimum, they shouldn't be playing in military bases. We as a people need to deal with this. I'm open to suggestions for how we do that. My first thought is simply anybody you know that watches Fox, you need to address that. I think I've used this analogy before, but I feel like it's accurate. If you just watch Fox, but you think, oh, my hands are clean from all the rest, that's like somebody that, oh, I just go to the Klan rallies. I don't participate in the lynchings. I just show up because it's like a fun event, and I say hi to all my friends who are in the Klan and do lynch people and are terrorists. Yeah, I just hang out with those people. And we build a sense of community. And it's a fun little thing. We burn a cross, we call each other wizard, Cyclops. No, if you're watching Fox, you're participating in the evil. And I feel that it's time to address that. It's not okay. If you find out, if you're like, oh, well, my dad he's been misled because, he's older. He watches a lot of Fox. Go to the nursing home or wherever place he lives right now and say, why? Why is that on your television? You realize that is a hate network. You're watching essentially a group of liars, of known liars, who are lying to you, and they take advantage of you. You remember when we had to talk to you about the person who kept calling and saying they were your grandson who was arrested and held in a foreign jail, and they kept asking you to send them a wire transfer? You were getting scammed by those people. You're getting scammed by Fox. They're lying to you. Pop, pop. They're lying to you. You have to stop watching them. I need you to promise me in this conversation that you will stop watching them. In fact, I need you to call up your cable provider and get all of your Fox subscriptions blocked if possible. This needs to be the end of that network. By the way, if you do have a television package of some sort, if you're paying for cable, and there is any Fox additions, I know Fox is like the standard package for a lot of it, but if you have the ability to say, do not send Fox to my house, do so. If you're planning on canceling your cable, regardless, it doesn't matter why, but you're planning on canceling your cable, just call them and say, you have Fox in this nonsense, and that's why I'm canceling. I can't, in good conscience, pay you money knowing that some of that's going to go to Fox. You should be ashamed, cable company, that you carry this nonsense at all. And because you do, I'm canceling. Again, it doesn't matter if you're just canceling because you're moving. Don't tell them that. You can do some good. Tell your cable company I'm canceling because you have Fox News. Or Fox, whatever they're calling themselves. Those are just some thoughts. Wicked Foxy Dragon, good to see you. John Bailey, hello there. Wicked Foxy Dragon, I stopped subscribing to cable because they wouldn't remove Fox. Good on you. You're the best, man. An actual cloud, Trump ramped it up, definitely. Yeah, that's true. He did. John Bailey, Tender Knob is a section of the city of San Francisco, California, near downtown. Interesting. Donald James X, we have a local Fox News station here, but it's local. I don't know. Yeah, that's different, believe it or not. So if I recall correctly, Nexstar is the one that generally has the Fox affiliate stations. They're the actual owners of those stations and the content they're in. But if they are a Fox station, if they're an affiliate station, it means they have an arrangement with Fox News National. So they're not owned by Fox, but they have an arrangement with Fox News National to pipe down their content to fill up airtime. It's not as bad. It's just not as bad. So I would say you probably don't have to die on that particular hill, but if you're going to cancel your cable anyway, you may as well take a shot at them, generally. I think making the name Fox toxic is good. It ought to be. The local news stations, the main ones, are Nexstar, Gray, and Graham. Those are Clear Channel. Those are the people that control most of the local news you see. Got another one here for you. Let's talk about the great state of Michigan. I want to talk about how Republicans work. Apparently, the minimum wage in Michigan may go up after Republicans tried to sneakily stop that from happening. If you're ever wondering, do Republicans act different at the state level than they do at the national level? The answer is no. They are bad people all the way through. Here's an example.
Well, a Michigan Supreme Court ruling may close the chapter, for now, on Michigan's minimum wage battle, but determining the real impact of the High Court's ruling is no easy task. Some say it's good for some workers, bad for others.
Real quick, just want to say Chief Justice of the Michigan Supreme Court, Bridget McCormick, is one of the more interesting folks I've had the pleasure of interviewing. I may ask her to do an interview for this channel. Gang, every election matters because every court appointment matters, because every down ballot race matters to some degree. All of this stuff is interconnected. Never again skip an election because you don't like one candidate. Because you are never, ever just voting for one thing. Even if there's only one thing on the ballot, people will read in to what you do or don't do with your vote. Even if you choose to vote neutrally, people will read in to whether or not you chose to show up. Never, ever skip an election. Okay.
Good for some businesses, bad for others. While some lawmakers say it's a bad way to govern, while others say it's a win for democracy.
This is a great first step.
Reaction to the Michigan Supreme Court's ruling when it comes to minimum wage is divided.
Definitely disappointed.
The High Court ruling this week paved the way after a 6-year legal battle to bump the state's minimum wage up to $12 an hour. Ensure
Pause. 6-year legal battle, you say? A 6-year legal battle? Well, what year is it right now? Well, it's 2024 right now. If I subtract 6 from 2024, what year do we wind up in? 2018. Y'all remember your Michigan history? What happened in 2018? Blue wave that utterly changed the way the state functions. It resulted in 2020 and 2022 having massive pushes that were victories for the left. So you get some insight into who's against this thing that was decided on a Michigan ballot. By the way, you want to know what else was decided in 2018? What else was on the ballot? Legalizing weed. It is very helpful to get that particular issue on the ballot because you will get a lot of regular folks suddenly giving a and showing up and paying for other things that when you read them just make sense. Because this country has been so mismanaged for so long that you really don't need to make much of a pitch to regular folks to vote for progressive stuff because it's the progressive things are just the sort of things regular folks thought we were already doing.
Sick paid time off and slowly phase out the tipped workers' lower wage over the next several years.
The victory today in the Supreme Court involves every worker in the state of Michigan. Minimum wage is increased for every worker in the state of Michigan.
It's been a long time coming and not in the way predicted. Back in 2018, 400,000 Michiganders signed a petition to make the minimum wage issues a ballot proposal, only to have the state legislature adopt the measures before the election and then amend them after.
It's also progress for justice, progress for the democratic process, progress for the over 400,000 people who signed the petition.
Attorney General Dana.
Oh, that woman is a hero of mine. And yet I've done her dirty by choosing that awful angle. There we go. That's a little better. All right, so here's the deal. Let me run that past you one more time, because this reveals the character of the Republican Party. This ballot proposal to raise the minimum wage for restaurant workers got the necessary signatures to get on the ballot. Republicans, knowing that they were going to lose and lose big, instead just adopted it. They said, we're going to rely on this rule where a ballot proposal becomes irrelevant and is therefore taken off the ballot if we say Okay, no need to vote. We'll just accept it. We'll just make it a rule. But then they waited till after the election and they amended it. And they changed it to the point of being useless. Republicans hate democracy. Republicans truly hate when you decide how your world is structured, how your world is arranged and built, and the rules you play by. They don't like you deciding that. They want to decide that for you. What they like is for you to always stay home and never get a say in what happens, and for your boss, who is their friend, to give them lots of money to keep your life miserable. That's basically what a Republican is. Case in point, here in Michigan, look what Republicans did when there was a ballot proposal ready to go. Instead of even daring let the people decide, they simply accepted it and then changed it so that it became irrelevant. I'll let Dana Nessel break it down.
Dana Nessel reacted to this week's court ruling in a statement released to us saying, quote, "This is a landmark victory for Michigan voters and a resounding affirmation of the power of direct democracy. The legislature cannot manipulate its power to undermine the will of the people. This ruling sends a clear message that elected officials cannot disregard the voices of their constituents." While some are calling the Supreme Court's ruling a win for workers and a win for democracy, others say the concerns that were first raised in 2018 still hold true.
I don't think they took into consideration the business.
So this twat, real quick, I just want to be clear about what he's saying. He's saying, well, some are saying it's a win for workers who will now get paid more money, and a win for democracy because this thing was taken out of the people's hands illegally, in my opinion, through not illegally, through a legal loophole. But on the other hand, says this guy, we have to ignore that. We have to ignore the fact that my party, the party I am a part of, fucked over the Michigan voter and fucked over all of these restaurant workers for the last 6 years who should have been getting more money for the last 6 years. I'm going to ignore all that and just talk about why their bosses will suffer. Why the bosses of the people that got screwed over won't make as much money as they would have. They were really relying on the thieving to keep their businesses afloat. These businesses can't stay afloat unless they bleed their workers and make them live off ramen noodles and bathroom sink water. Fuck those businesses. Burn those businesses. We don't need them. We decided a long time ago that indentured servitude, that's no way to run a business. And you just can't have them if you're not competent enough to run a business where your employees can actually live lives. You have a bad business then, and it deserves to be lost forever. By the way, workers of Michigan, restaurant workers of Michigan, you need to be a part of a class action lawsuit. And you all need to sue the Republican Party. The Republican Party, which, by the way, was able to raise millions of dollars to pay Donald Trump's legal fees. Overnight, they were able to do that. You need to sue them for your back pay, because for the last 6 years, if you've been working in a restaurant for the last 6 years, you've been paid less because of these fucks. Go get your money. All of you collectively just need to hire the one lawyer. One lawyer. To sue these bastards and make them suffer some actual consequences because they thieved from you. Restaurant workers, did you, over the last 6 holiday seasons, buy your children, your nieces, your nephews, your brothers and sisters less impressive gifts than you would have liked? Did you have to buy somebody socks instead of a sweater? Could you not afford the electric bike for your daughter, and instead you had to give her a slightly rusty bike from a pawn shop? That prick right there, it's his fault. Sue them. Don't just sue them for yourself, sue them for the next person too. Sue them so they don't think they can take these free shots. They knew that they would eventually fail. And what they were trying to do was to get 6 more years of bleeding you. Part of the reason they did that is they were confident there would be no legal or financial consequences for it. Make them regret that.
Perspectives on this. This is a potential to, again, hit our restaurants in particular very hard.
Representative Roth points to restaurants like the ones we have featured in previous stories on the topic, who may have to raise prices to cover increased payroll costs, and the potential hit to workers who rely on tips to make ends meet.
They make far more money than minimum wage with tips. This could cut into that, and it's also going to make.
Look, I want you to think about the hypothetical money that they might not make instead of the actual money that they won't make. If my way was taken, if they go my way, they definitely won't make an amount of money. And I'm just saying that hypothetically there could be more money that they don't make, Are you aware of how much per hour the restaurant pays your waiter or waitress? I'm not. I don't check that when I come through the door. But this guy says, oh, people aren't going to tip him as much. He does not give a fuck about restaurant workers. He only cares about restaurant owners. And those people clearly don't care about their workers. If they're supporting him, then they're the sort of restaurant owners who do not care about their workers. If they're not already paying their workers the correct amount of money, which is at least as much as is being offered in this wage hike, they don't give a shit. And their opinion is invalid because they are bad people.
Make the price of everything at our restaurants go up too.
Some don't see it that way, citing that restaurants aren't hiring too many people at the current minimum wage, and they point out changing the tip wage may not impact how customers end up tipping.
Also, I want to be as fair as possible to restaurant owners. Theoretically, there's a restaurant owner who thinks they're wrong, but they think they don't have a choice. They think, well, the other guy's doing it, so I have to do it or I can't be competitive. It's not true, incidentally. There's plenty of restaurants who pay their restaurant workers a fair wage, and they do great. But all right, the villain here is not even the restaurant owner. It is the Republican Party. It just gets so boring because it's always the Republican Party because, they're a bunch of scumbags.
When I tip based upon the service. I don't tip based upon the wage.
The impact on business owners, employees, and customers' pocketbooks is only one element of this ruling, though, and we may not know its impact for years to come. But many say the bigger impact may be on the controversial adopt and amend strategy by lawmakers.
Yeah.
It shows that the people's right to petition their government cannot be challenged and cannot be struck down.
While those in the chambers of power say the message sent may not be in the state's best interest.
If we can't adopt and amend, are we going to rule only by proposal here in the state of Michigan?
Yeah, motherfucker. he's really far away from me, but I will travel to this prick's district just to speak on behalf of whoever's running against him. Yes! Are we really going to let the people decide what rules they live under? Yeah, you prick. That's exactly what we're going to do. This dude wants to keep a rule in place that lets you pull one over on your constituents. He's laughing about it. Are we really just going to get rid of this ability we have to fuck over people, to not see petitions that we want, that Michigan voters said they want to vote on? Are we really just going to take away our ability to screw them over? Yeah. Yeah, we are. And it should concern anyone who ever voted for you or ever considered voting for you, that you would think that the words that just came out of your mouth aren't the end of your career. Let's make it so. Let's end that career.
And our other proposals that have been pulled off the ballot and put into play, are those now not constitutional also? So I am concerned long run.
Yeah.
And as it stands right now, the
you
new
should be
minimum
concerned
wage will go into effect
for
early
yourself
next year with adjustments for inflation. Lawmakers say they may try to pass legislation this fall that would address the court's recent ruling. And we may end up back in court for a new lengthy legal battle.
So again, I tell you, restaurant workers of Michigan, sue the Republican Party. They stole your wages for the last 6 years. Sue them for it. Do it not just so that you get your money, although you deserve that money. You literally earned it. But do it so they can't keep getting away with this. I've touted Michigan in a lot of ways on this channel. Don't let me down now. Michigan restaurant workers, sue the Republican Party. Because they owe you. Let's see what the what the wicked community has to say. Oh, we are still live. That's good. Rex Trek, he needs to see a dentist. Yeah, and a career counselor. The anti-corporatist, man, and dental anymore is a racket. That's true. BC Clarity, BC Clarity, Carlton Martin, an oral surgeon. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not that guy's fault that he's half a woodchuck. It's just, it's more the fact that he thieves from people that I got a problem with. Mars Falcon, I cannot pay the peasants. How will I keep up with the docking fees for my fleet of yachts? Republican business guy. Yeah. Yep. BC Clarity, we are kidding ourselves about America being a democracy. It is a plantation. Oh my God, well put. Anti-corporatist, oh nice, I did pizza delivery for a while and it's probably not worth it when you figure in your car costs. It certainly depends. It certainly depends. Sometimes you kill it. I was a sandwich delivery driver and a pizza delivery driver in the early days, and yeah, I thought it was good, but if you have a car that requires repair often, that goes down quick. Pinkerbell, no, he's waiting tables and cashing out carry-out orders. I missed the context. I'm sorry. Oh, my kid just got his first job. $10 an hour plus tips at a pizza place in Texas. These people can figure it out. Yeah. Donald James, there seems to be two different mentalities. People who think like an owner and people who are consumers. There are two sides here, like the way that landlords think. One, Rex Trek, I was a waiter for 4 years. Nice. Did your time, man. Yeah, bad lefty. Imagine receiving the 6 years of back payments at 40 hours a week. And to be honest, I want to address the other comment in full, so I'll do that in a moment. But so it'd be 6 years of the difference in back pay, which for like some restaurant workers, they're getting paid like $2 an hour now. It would be bumped up to $12 an hour, $12.50 plus inflation. So that it would be $10 an hour worth of back pay for 40-hour weeks. Then minus the lawyer's fee. Probably, what is it going to be, 30%? So they would be getting essentially whatever 7 times 40 times 6 years would be. Well, let's find out, actually. 7 times 40 times 6. Oh. Times 52. $87,000 a piece. Times the number of waiters in Michigan. Taken from the Republican Party. Good. Good. It should cost them that much. I love it. That's after taking out the lawyer's fee. That's after doing all the subtraction, and certainly before you would add on things like how much pain and suffering it caused you to not have that $87,000 over that time. Think about how much investments happen, not just like literally in terms of the stock market, but things you buy that work better versus things that break down quickly. Were you able to put a new roof on your house? Were you able to put new insulation in your walls? Oh, you weren't? So you were paying extra for all that heating in winter. Oh, so the flood damage that happened to your house when that leak happened. Things like that. They need to be considered. And these motherfuckers got to pay for it. Class action lawsuit. It's got to happen. In fact, I know a lawyer. He doesn't do this kind of work, but he does know the sort of people I should be talking to. I'm going to ask him, who would handle this? Wicked Foxy Dragon, except they don't get 40 hours. My dad was a dealer for years and years. They would give him 39 hours. True. And there's plenty of people who are getting paid more than $2 an hour. There's plenty of people that are getting paid $10 an hour. So for them, it would be only the difference in pay between that and this and yada, yada, yada. But you know what? Oh, well. It's still a tremendous amount of money taken from the workers of Michigan by the Michigan Republican Party. So the Michigan Republican Party owes them. And oh, hey, by the way, if the Republican Party nationally still wants there to be a branch of it in Michigan, a swing state, they're going to have to cover that bill. Mars Falcon, in 2019, the total cost of every robbery in the country was $482 million. The cost of wage theft was more than 100 times that number. Good God. The anti-corporatist, Aaron Brockovich. Yeah, we need an Aaron Brockovich. Jeff P., if restaurants and other businesses can't operate ethically, i.e. pay their staff fairly, they shouldn't be in business. Yes, and that's what I wanted to talk about. The other comment was from Donald James. There's two ways to look at this. There's from the worker's perspective and the boss's perspective, or business owner's perspective, really. I think he's right, and I think that ought to be considered. And by the way, I don't think that the business owner should be ignored. But I agree with you, Jeff P. Am I remembering that name correctly? I agree with you, yes, Jeff P. as well. If you cannot run a business where your employees don't suffer because they work at your business, then you just can't run a business. Now, we don't legislate for every single thing that can possibly exist because, to some degree, we just let capitalism work it all out. But unfortunately, Americans often make the mistake of thinking, oh, this business has survived the way things are currently. We must keep things the way things are to keep this business afloat. And that's wrong. It's a terrible way to look at it. I happen to think most of those companies that result in you getting an Indian person doing your tech calls at 3 a.m. or whatever ought not to exist, because the way your poor over the phone tech person lives is not good. These companies that have abusive practices that say they won't be able to survive in a climate where the worker is treated fairly are just outing themselves as a business that deserves to not survive. And oh hey, by the way, if that business does fold, that means they cease being competition for businesses that actually run properly. That takes away the excuse of people saying, oh, well, I have to run my business this poorly, this cruelly. I have to abuse my employees this much because the other guy's doing it. And if I don't do that, then the other guy is going to make so much more money than me that I'll be out of business from their competition. Well, that goes away. That goes away. And that is good. And the people of Michigan were going to vote on that specifically until Republicans realized, oh, they're on to us. What we have to do is a switcheroo. Hey, the anti-corporatist says, Amazon does that, only they can afford it. Yeah. Chef P, huge corporations make the competition nearly impossible for small businesses. True, true, true. And we can put in laws that would make it less profitable for them to do so. But neoliberalism, the jackal that it is, has made that philosophy of governing has made it so that we instead just give them barrels of our tax money every time they get in trouble. All right, gang, I have not seen this one. I wanted to see this with you all live. It's Morning Joe. It appears to be Trump in yet another piece of hot water. Legal hot water. Apparently, according to Morning Joe, Trump's back at it. He's been caught doing something with Egypt, or had some dealings with Egypt, which may have been illegal during his presidency. Boy, let me tell you, I don't know the details of this. I'm going to learn it right along with you during the viewing of this clip from Morning Joe, but I do want to put it in context. We already saw that, or rather, I do want to put Trump's illegal behavior in context. We already saw how he behaved with Bill Barr when Bill Barr was informed that by the Italians that I think it was Russia may have compromise on Trump, or Trump's dealings with Russia may have been illegal. That was swept under the rug. Doesn't surprise me to hear that Trump may have done something illegal regarding Egypt as well. But again, I don't know the details yet. I just thought this was an interesting thing to come up now amidst all of Trump's other legal problems, amidst Kamala Harris becoming the new competition for office. It's just fascinating, the tide that we're seeing of Trump legal woes.
President El-Sisi has been somebody that's been very close to me from the first time I met him. I met during the campaign.
Uh-oh.
At that point, there were two of us, and we both met. And hopefully you like me a lot more. But it was a very long, it was supposed to be just a quick, brief meeting, and we were with each other for a long period of time. We agree on so many things. I just want to...
But, you know, we got talking, and we had a little champagne. God, he's just so odd, the way he talks to human beings. Like he does. Oh, he's such a weirdo. Anyway, interesting. Interesting that he was talking about meeting during the campaign. You remember that? Weirdo.
Let everybody know, in case there was any doubt, that we are very much behind President El-Sisi. He's done a fantastic job.
So that was former President Donald Trump praising Egypt's leader Abdel Fattah el-Sisi during a 2017 visit to the White House. Now, more than 7 years later, the Washington Post has new reporting on a previously unknown federal investigation into whether Trump's first presidential campaign illegally accepted money from that same foreign leader. For more, let's bring in one of the authors of that piece, national investigative reporter at the Washington Post, Carol Leonnig. This is an
Did I see that amount of money correctly? We're going to pop back. $10 million? Yo. This makes me wonder, who is he taking money from right now? Because he's definitely of the belief that once he gets into office again, if he gets into office again, all the old rules no longer matter, which means he will not care about taking a bribe from a foreign leader now. But let's see. Did he take $10 million at least from Egypt in 2017?
Carol Leonnig, this is an extraordinary story, Carol. What did Donald Trump describing the relationship as very close, potentially $10 million very close. What did your reporting tell you about Egypt's relationship with the Trump campaign?
Well, as Donald Trump reveals in that first meeting he has with a foreign head of state as the president of the United States, he had a private session with El-Sisi on the sidelines of the United Nations. There was no one in the meeting for a portion of the time, and what CIA intelligence discovered and passed on with great concern was that there was an indication from an informant and other streams of intelligence that El-Sisi had basically ordered or instructed some of his aides to get $10 million to Donald Trump's cash-starved campaign. It wasn't clear exactly how this would be accomplished, though there were references to using some of the Egyptian spy network, the government's own spy network, which El-Sisi relied on heavily for his own power and to solidify his power at home and abroad. Then investigators, if you can believe this, obtained a record of a mysterious $10 million withdrawal from an account linked to Egypt's intelligence agency. This cash withdrawal was mysterious because it represented such a large portion of U.S. currency then in the Egyptian banking system. They discovered that that withdrawal was made 5 days before Donald Trump became president. Unfortunately, the Department of Justice was never able to answer the question of whether or not Donald Trump accepted that money. Investigators were blocked.
Yeah, that is weird. Let me cast a little doubt here. 5 days before he was elected, 5 days before the election, that's different than 5 days before he was inaugurated. I mean, a bribe is a bribe, but it makes a difference as to whether or not the bribe helped him become the U.S. president, or whether they're saying he took a bribe when he was the president. Neither is good, It's very strange that they were apparently pulling out $10 million American dollars within that time frame, but it says two very different things. Was it January 15th that they're talking about? I don't know. Or was it September something?
Blocked by the political appointees at the department in 2019 from obtaining the records they believed would answer that question of whether Trump accepted an illegal. They believed would in 2019 from obtaining the appointees at the department money. Investigators were blocked by the political appointees at the department in 2019.
All right, that right there is a story unto itself. Even if it turns out that Donald Trump had nothing to do with it at all, and the $10 million not related at all, the fact that appointees of Donald Trump blocked this investigation should disqualify anyone who had done that from being president. That alone should make people say, oh, I'm never voting for this guy. Oh, this guy needs to be properly investigated now. And oh, hey, by the way, this guy needs to be properly investigated now. It's one thing to say, well, presidential immunity, if it was an official act. I think this is serious enough that we need to question whether that is an official act. Is it really an official act if you don't do it officially, if you don't go up in front of the people and say, I have just stopped an investigation, I feel that it's for the good of the country? That you could argue is an official act. If you're in a back room, a dark room somewhere, and you say, Billy Barr, listen, I need you to stop this thing. It's killing me, this investigation. That's not official. And if you're going to say that it is, then you got to argue that in a courtroom, because this needs to be hashed out.
From obtaining the records they believed would answer that question of whether Trump accepted an illegal campaign contribution or gift from Sisi.
So, Carol, your story has extraordinary reporting of officials working in the Bank of Egypt, stuffing $100 bills into bags.
Good Lord.
Did you get any closer to understanding where all of those $100 bills actually ended up, or to understanding why the Department of Justice decided that it wasn't going to press ahead with this investigation?
We did better on the second question, I have to say, which was learning that this was one of the most high profile in that it was a major case for the Department of Justice, one of the most closely held and secretive because it was based on classified intelligence, and that it was one of the most contentious inside the department. Jesse Liu, the U.S. attorney for the...
Based on classified intelligence, you say? I wonder if we have any documents that lay out what was going on with that case. Don't you? I wonder if there's like a series of documents that we could look through and say, oh, that's what was going on. Right there. I see. That's what was happening. That's where the investigation stood and what was discovered in the investigation. I wonder if there are documents of a classified nature that are in the possession of the U.S. government and not the person who was being investigated. This prick needs to go into prison. Just a fact.
The District of Columbia at the time and a Trump appointee heard out FBI agents and prosecutors who said they needed to get additional bank records of Donald Trump's for 2017 to figure out, did this mysterious cash land anywhere in Donald Trump's accounts?
I wonder if we could have a quick gander at the tax forms that Trump submitted when he became president. You know how he said that I didn't submit them yet, and I'll do it if I'm elected, then you'll definitely see them. And then we never saw them. Or he refused as long as he possibly could to turn those over. I wonder if there's something in there that perhaps hints at where this money went. U.S. Justice Department, what the fuck's wrong with you? What's the matter with you? Seriously. How is it this difficult to investigate a blatant criminal? I think the answer is it's not terribly difficult. You just refuse to do it because you're not supposed to go after rich people. You are pathetic. U.S. Justice Department. Just truly the most embarrassing element of the United States in this day and age. The one that will be looked back upon with the most shame is the United States Department of Justice.
He seemed open to that idea, said she needed to talk to then new Attorney General Bill Barr and brief him on this case, which would be normal. Bill Barr then told Lou she needed to go see the underlying CIA intelligence herself, go to Langley, figure out whether or not this case was warranted. He expressed some concern about some of the FBI agents involved, that they had been on the Mueller probe, and he had some concerns about whether or not they were hell-bent on pursuing Trump's records and if they had justification for getting those additional records. Jessie Liu came back from those meetings and then told prosecutors and agents she was no longer going to authorize that subpoena for Trump's bank records. And the case stalled out, and eventually other U.S. attorneys that took her place both stymied the case and then closed it down.
Good Lord.
So, Carol, let's run one more time through that. Bill Barr is appointed Attorney General. And then he learns about this investigation that's going on. The U.S. attorney that you just mentioned has been running the investigation. Bill Barr, apparently, according to your reporting, thinks that some of the agents on the case were Mueller guys and had been on the Mueller investigation. And so he shuts down the investigation at that point? Just shuts it down?
Barr does not shut down the case. Great question, by the way. He doesn't shut it down. He does two things. He inserts himself with Jessie Liu and says, you better look hard at this intelligence. You better look hard at whether or not there is a predicate, like a legal foundation, a justification to get these additional Trump records. The investigators, of course, are kind of gobsmacked by this. This is jaw-dropping intelligence that says El-Sisi wanted to quickly, illegally spirit $10 million to Trump. And now they have a record, which Mueller has obtained from the Bank of Egypt, showing there was a $10 million cash withdrawal. $100 bills shoved into duffel bags and carried out of a bank outside of Cairo 5 days before Donald Trump becomes president. They think, look, this is pretty interesting. This cash withdrawal sure mirrors the intelligence that the CIA flagged us and alerted us to, the jaw-dropping intelligence. And then Barr does a second thing after warning Liu about his concern. She needs to figure out if this is warranted. He meets privately with FBI Director Chris Wray and says, you need to insert some adult supervision in this case.
In other words, he was putting the brakes on the case without getting his name on it as much as possible, without taking responsibility, without taking the risk of saying, I'm directly saying you need to stop this. No, not that. But he was saying, if you do this and you screw it up in any way, I'm going to come after you. I'm going to go to your boss and say, hey, if you do this, if you keep looking, and you later say we don't have it, we don't have a convictable case, I'm going to make sure that it looks terrible for you. I'm going to make sure there are consequences for your career. In fact, if you look into it at all, you should know, and I'm just the messenger here, there are going to be consequences for your career. Anybody you recommend get appointed here or there? I don't think we're going to do that. Oh, do you want to be secretary of whatever in 3 years? Not a chance if you look into this. Bill Barr, who visited Jeffrey Epstein, I believe the day before he killed himself. Bill Barr's the guy.
Jesse Liu's not making a firm decision yet on whether or not this case can proceed. I need you, Chris Wray, to get involved with these FBI agents who appear to be hell-bent on getting Trump's records. And we need to figure out whether or not it's justified for them to do it. Do they have the basis for doing that? And he expresses doubts, essentially, that they...
You can... I mean, this is the gal that broke the story, and even she can't help herself for doing, like, they have to do this impression of them, of the person they're talking about being very reasonable. She doesn't know that that's what he said, and we need to figure out if this case is worth following. She's pitching it as though Bill Barr got in the room and he was a Trump guy, and so he was like, well, I'm not sure, and is this reasonable? And fuck you! Bill Barr was intimidating these people. Bill Barr was using his position of power to try to stop a case that would have made his boss look bad, whether it ends up being true or not that he took a bribe from Al-Sisi. Although, god damn, the CIA saying look into a payment from Al-Sisi, and then the FBI saying, oh, there was a withdrawal of cash from Al-Sisi. Let's find out where it went to. And then Bill Barr says, you better not. Good reporting, but don't ever give them the benefit of the doubt, lady.
I do.
Terrific new reporting, and it's online this morning for the Washington Post. National investigative reporter at the Post, Carol Lennig. Carol, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Weird, wild stuff. Yeah, we'll keep following that. Add that to the list of Trump probably did that the Department of Justice has been too corrupt to pursue. After all, you wouldn't want to make it look political. That's why you never investigate a politician. Otherwise, you might be accused of having politics interfering with the pursuit of justice. What an embarrassment. Oh, gang. Let's see what y'all have to say. Bad lefty, mafioso shit, yes. Fun P, Don the Con, in so many levels. You are correct. Need a Canadian, appreciating these topics. Bring on the discussion of employment, taxes, Michigan economy. Well, thank you. Donald James X, go charge him for treason or else what's the point? Yeah. Donald James X, maybe Menendez took it. That's a distinct possibility. Donald James X, yeah, but does this really mean anything? It does to us, but it could. It could. Normies do not follow the news. That is one of the many shames of this generation of people alive right now. It's just a fact. Normies generally don't follow the news. The good news is occasionally stories like this break through and inform them of who these folks are. We also don't know which one will wind up in front of the eyes of somebody that needs to see it. But at the end of the day, truth matters. You know? Getting to the bottom of something, to find out the truth of a matter, has its own value, separate from whether or not anything is done about it, separate from whether or not we shame ourselves by failing to act. for the sake of the future, understanding what happened and how it happened, for the sake of people who will be called liars otherwise, who were telling the truth. It is important to find these things out and report them and share on the reporting, or share the reporting. So even if nobody else gives a damn that Donald Trump apparently took a $10 million bribe from the leader of Egypt, it's important that we know whether he did or he didn't. Just like we know that the J.D. Vance couch fucking rumor got started as a joke. Again, I don't think anybody wants to go out and say that J.D. Vance definitely didn't fuck a couch. That's a separate thing altogether. But the person who had accused him of fucking a couch, that was just a joke. And we know truly for a fact now that the reality of J.D. Vance is much weirder. Bad Lefty, give me a CC, give me an OO, give me an RR, yay, let him go corruption. Yeah. Donald James X, it does, but that story that you informed us about doesn't really excite me because I know how other people are going to look at it. Maybe. Here's the deal. That's the beginning of a story. The real story here is Bill Barr. How much did this guy cover up for Donald Trump? If we get Bill Barr looking at an indictment, because Bill Barr does not have immunity, by the way. Just imagine this pool shot lined up from a smart and ambitious prosecutor. Bill Barr, in 2025, Trump has lost re-election, so a pardon is not on the table. Bill Barr does not have immunity for official acts, even with the corrupt Supreme Court being what it is. And a prosecutor says, we have you covering up a crime for Donald Trump. We have found, let's just assume best case scenario for the investigation, we found definitive proof that Al-Sisi gave Trump $10 million, that you knew about it, and you told the investigators not to look into it. And then Bill Barr says, if you let this go, I will tell you what happened to Jeffrey Epstein and who told me to do it. I have no idea what happened to Jeffrey Epstein. I'm just saying that the cumulative effect of this stuff is important. One thing can lead to another, You're right, there's probably going to be no immediate controversy here, or no immediate story even. For folks that watch Donald Trump stuff, this is like a Tuesday. This is the most average thing in the world. But when we keep pulling at these threads, eventually something sweater. I'm just about out of steam, folks. This eyeball is killing me. I'm going to go try to fish this eyelash out my eye. I believe coming up, we've got Generational Change. It's a fun channel that I haven't swung by in a while. I'm going to check it out. I invite you to join me. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. And this is Donald James X. And my name's Jake.